In this edition of Generations, we talk to John Erlinghauser of AARP Connecticut about scams and fraud that already are occurring around the new Medicare cards being issued nationwide. Plus, changing your electricity supplier, we get the lowdown from John as to whether it's the right thing for you. And Judy Jenks is back from SeniorCenterCTorg to update us on all the latest happenings at the website. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith and welcome to Generations, a new podcast for people of your generation. We're talking again this month about the new Medicare cards that are being issued to the nation's 58 million Medicare recipients, and the fact that already the cards, which should have started rolling out in April, have now been delayed until May because of scams that have started up. I spoke recently to John Erlinghauser, who's the Director for Advocacy and Community Outreach for AARP Connecticut, about this topic, and we also discussed the deregulation of electricity suppliers in the state and what it means for you, the consumer. I started by asking John about a survey that AARP had conducted recently around the new Medicare cards, where 76% of respondents said they knew nothing or very little about the new cards coming out, and also about scams that have started already around the new cards.
There's been so little publicity about the fact that these new Medicare cards are coming out that I'm so thankful of the fact that you are putting this podcast out there for people to help raise the awareness level of the fact that these new cards are coming out, but also raise the awareness level of the potential for fraud and scam. So yes, 3/4 of the people, that's a staggering number, actually have no idea that this is happening. And it's that particularly makes them vulnerable to being taken advantage of. I mean, and one of the other things that, when you mentioned our survey, one of the other findings of that were that, like 6 in 10 people think, there could be a fee for them to get this new Medicare card. And that literally, just the notion of that leaves them open to being defrauded out of money, thinking they have to pay for the new Medicare card.
Another thing in your survey was a startling figure that around 51% of respondents said they might not question a call if they thought it was from Medicare. Talk us through that.
I do all kinds of programs on different issues, and we have a whole group of volunteers in Connecticut with what we call the Fraud Watch Network, who go around the state and give presentations, particularly to older people, but it's pertinent to everybody, about what not to do when it comes to phone calls, knocks on the door, door-to-door salesmen, and the like. It baffles my mind because the government will never call you demanding money. They would always contact you via mail. And, we just got through tax season. There's the IRS scam, people calling up, demanding that you pay an IRS bill and that the government was going to come after you don't pay the bill. Well, now they're doing the same thing with Medicare. And the fact that half the people surveyed actually believe that you would get a call from Medicare asking you information, personal information like your social security number, or demanding that you pay a bill owed to Medicare is baffling to me, and it's just, people are very conscientious. Older people do not, like owing people money, might forget whether they have a bill or not, and are trusting. And unfortunately, they get taken advantage of. So, the more we can do to get this information out there, that number one, you're going to be getting a new Medicare card. Number two, it isn't going to cost you anything. And three, the government in any way, whether it's on the Medicare issue, IRS, or any other, will never call you over the phone demanding payment.
One thing to point out is that these cards do look a bit different from current Medicare cards, and they were supposed to start being mailed out this month, April, but due to the rise in scams have been set back to May. That said, people should still be on the lookout for the new cards in their mailboxes, though.
Absolutely. They should be on the watch for them. Watch your mail. It's very important that you protect your mail because obviously you don't want anything like this getting into the hands of somebody that shouldn't have it. Certainly, it's being done for all the right reasons, but it doesn't mean that individuals should be any less vigilant about what they do with their Medicare card. And it's important that they know that this is going to be rolled out, as you said, Brian, over the course of the next year. So they won't all happen at once. And, it's important that you pay close attention. And it's also important that, if you get something or call or or a knock on your door, or somebody for asking for any kind of information related to this or anything, frankly, that might be fraudulent, we have a Fraud Watch Network hotline that you can call and speak to some of our counselors, volunteers that are trained to help assist people in issues like this. And if you don't mind, Brian, I'm going to give the number. It's 877-908-3360. And as I said, our volunteers are there to help you, direct you, answer questions you might have about it. But it's very important, and it's something we talk about when we have our Fraud Watch presentations, our volunteers, is to never feel pressure by somebody who comes to your door, calls you on the phone, or even sends you a letter to have to respond right then and there. It's always important that you do due diligence in order to get the right information, get the facts, and understand what you really have to do to protect yourself, your pocketbook, and your future. So that's very important.
As John said, if you need to find out more about the new Medicare cards and possible fraud, call the AARP free helpline. That telephone number again, 877-908-3360, and also visit their website. Now, John, another thing we wanted to talk to you about, and something that is always in the news, is your electricity service. And I know that you, John, and AARP Connecticut have done a lot of work on this topic as we continue to see deregulation in this sector. Talk us through what it all means, because it's still somewhat confusing.
Yeah, I'm very appreciative of you, because a lot of the issues we just talked about are very appropriate for the discussion of our deregulated market in Connecticut, because, it's been about 20 years since Connecticut deregulated. And what that did for consumers is gave you the choice to pick a company to deliver electricity supply to you. So it's not your regulated utility, right? In Connecticut, you either have Eversource or United Illuminating, depending on where you live. In Fairfield and New Haven counties, parts of them, you have United Illuminating. The rest of the state is serviced by Eversource. But with your generation supply, you have the ability to get the standard service through those companies or pick a different supply. It's very important for people to know that one of their choices is not to have to choose. That's number one, because like I said, you can get a phone call from somebody or a knock on your door and people telling you you have to choose, and you don't, but choosing might be right for you. And it's important, if you are going to choose to go with an alternative third-party supplier, you get the right information, you know where to go for that information, and that you, once again, have due diligence in monitoring your choice to ensure that you're getting the best deal for you at all times. Because it's not as simple as switching and then, it's not like the old Ronco rotisserie, set it and forget it. You literally have to set it and monitor it constantly in order to ensure that, you're getting a deal and that there is no fraudulent activity in your choice. So that's very important for people to know and understand. I did a presentation last week at a senior center here in Connecticut, and we always ask our participants in the presentation, and our volunteers generally give these presentations. We ask them to bring a copy of their utility bill, because on the bill it will tell you what you're paying for delivery and what you're paying for supply, and if you've made a choice with a third party, when that contract expires, whether or not what your rate is, whether or not there's a cancellation fee in that contract. And then it'll also tell you whether or not you're paying more than or less than the standard service. So every month you could see whether or not you're saving money right on the face of your bill. And at this presentation, we had several seniors who had their bill. Number one, couldn't find that information. You really have to look for it on the bill because there is so much information on that bill. But once they found it, we determined that they were paying more for their electricity with a third-party supplier. Now, I want to be very clear. There are many, many good actors out there in terms of suppliers. And just because you might be paying more doesn't necessarily mean it's because you're getting ripped off. It could be just because you've made a choice that might be good at one time, you didn't monitor it, you didn't make a change again, and it's no longer saving you money. And it means that you might not just have done due diligence in monitoring your choice. Now, again, there are also some companies who will have, once again, a contract employee come to your door and, tell you a lot of information that may not be accurate to get you to switch, and you make that switch right then and there. Or you may get a phone call trying to tell you what a great deal you're going to get. It may be or it may not be, or it could be somebody who's just trying to scam you, but that's not how you should make a choice about electric service. You shouldn't do it by responding to a piece of mail. You shouldn't do it by responding to a phone call or to a knock on your door. You really need to put the time and effort into it and go to the state's official rate board. And you could go to that rate board and you could make a choice by doing a real comparison. And by the way, that rate board that has all the listings of all the offerings is energizect.com. And there are a lot of older people who don't have access to the internet. They could call 877-947-3873. And they could really, compare and contrast different plans and see what but no, it's very important to know you have to check this every day. And I tell people, even if you don't choose a third-party supplier, let's say you stay with Eversource, if you do that, you have to check your bill once again to see that you weren't slammed. You weren't switched without your permission. Somebody got your account number. Somebody figured out, all your information, and they switched you to a supplier without you knowing. And you may be having that go on for months, and you may be paying more than you thought because you're not monitoring your electric bill. You want to know that information. So, literally have to examine the details of your bill, the front page, every single month.
I suppose the final comment to make on this, John, is that we're not used to shopping around for services like this, but if you do it using the guidance you've been talking about, you potentially could save a lot of money.
Well, the state of Connecticut has determined that the average household in Connecticut uses 750 kilowatt hours of electricity a month. And I tell people, if you're using more than 750, consider going into the market and choosing a supplier. Because you're using the average or more, and you could probably save some money, particularly if you have an all-electric home. I know people with all-electric homes, they use 3,000 kilowatt hours a month. So there could be some real significant savings. So if you, once again, use your due diligence, monitor your bill, make your choice wisely, you could really save some money. But if you do choose, even if you're a low usage customer, you really have to put the energy and effort into it. And so that's really, the choice you have to make. Is choosing right for me? And if it is, am I willing to put the time into doing it? And if you answer yes to both of those questions, you could save some money. So I'm not encouraging people to do it. I'm not discouraging people to do it. The main point of what we're doing at AARP and by giving presentations on this topic is to really give people the tools to make the choices themselves and make informed choices.
That was John Erlinghauser, Director of Advocacy and Community Outreach for AARP Connecticut. My thanks to John for talking to us. And just a reminder, you can get information about the new Medicare cards from aarp.org and at medicare.gov. And that website for electricity supplier information again is energizect.com. Now, Judy Jenks is back with us on Generations. Judy, how are you?
Good, very good today.
Nice to have you back. So what's new at SeniorCenterCTorg?
What I wanted to do today was just talk about the website a little bit and how to maximize the use of it. We have a new feature, which is an electronic newsletter. Everybody can sign up by going to each town's homepage, scroll down to subscribe to our mailing list, click on it, fill out the simple form, and you'll start receiving them at the beginning of the next month. I want to assure everybody that we'll never sell or share that information. That newsletter goes out to about 1,400 people right now, and we hope to be able to serve more. Then you can find us at some trade shows and expos. When you go to these trade shows and expos, it's a great place to learn on what's going on for services and resources for the seniors. Some of what goes on at senior centers is health-wise, it's blood pressure, sugar checks, foot care, there's support groups, there's many different kinds, fitness, massage, yoga, meditation. They also have a large number of trips, both overnight and daytime. And if you've ever wanted to dance or been a dancer, there's line dancing and tap dancing. Memory screening and health seminars go on at the various senior centers. And if you're a game player, bridge, cribbage, pickleball, rummy cube, those all happen multiple places and multiple times during the week. For your computer and cell phone, there's all sorts of help and assistance. They will show you how to use it. And if you're having problems, maybe your computer is slow or whatever, they can help you with that. If you're an artist or ever wanted to be an artist, there's oil, acrylic drawing, and watercolor classes. Those start at various times during the year, so you don't need to feel as though, oh, I missed it. It will come around again. If you've ever been in a chorus or wanted to be part of an acting group, there's even those at the senior centers. Then there's transportation. It could be to go shopping. It could be to go to the doctor's, the bank, whatever. And Meals on Wheels. We've all heard about that program, and that's where they are delivered from. The majority of the time is from the senior center, so you can make a contact there, and they'll direct you as to what you need to do to sign up. Then the senior centers also have lunches and coffee shops, so you can stop in for that. You can find all of the details for all of these things at the various senior centers at SeniorCenterCTorg by using the search bar and the calendar feature.
Coffees and lunch shops sounds idyllic.
And it is.
So do you get to use them often? Because, I mean, it's a good way to meet people, isn't it?
Oh, it is. It is. A couple of the senior centers have the coffee shops so that you can just sort of stop in. Maybe you and I would want to meet and have a cup of coffee. We could do that at the senior center. And then when it comes to the lunches, one senior center, Groton, has its own chef. So they have hot meals and cold meals, salad bars, all of that kind of thing. Different senior centers have different lunch programs.
I noticed you mentioned computer classes. I'm going to go back to last month's episode. Have you got yourself a smart speaker yet for your potatoes?
No, I have not, but I have priced them and I just haven't ordered it. So by the time we speak the next time, I will have it and I'll be able to tell you what I'm using it for.
We look forward to hearing from you, Judy, about your use of your smart speaker. Thanks ever so much for joining us for this edition of Generations.
Thank you.
That's all from this edition of Generations. Don't forget to visit SeniorCenterCTorg to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. And if you want to send us a topic to talk about or want to be our guest on the podcast, drop us a line by visiting SeniorCenterCTorg's website and go to the bottom of the homepage and click the How to Advertise with Us link to get in touch. From myself, Brian Scott Smith, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.